When we think about the iconic story of The Wizard of Oz, we often recall the 1939 film, beloved by generations, which remains a cornerstone of American pop culture. Based on L. Frank Baum's 1900 novel, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, the movie's enchanting visuals and unforgettable characters have shaped our collective understanding of the fantastical world of Oz. However, in the early 21st century, a new perspective on Oz was introduced with Wicked, a Broadway musical that later spawned its own film adaptation. While it may appear to be a distinct narrative, Wicked is deeply connected to The Wizard of Oz, offering an alternate view of familiar characters and events. In this article, we will explore the intricate relationship between these two works and break down how they align, diverge, and complement each other. A different perspective. Wicked, the Broadway musical written by Winnie Halsman, is based on Gregory Maguire's 1995 novel, Wicked, The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West. This narrative offers a completely different perspective on the well-known Wizard of Oz tale. While The Wizard of Oz presents a straightforward good versus evil story, Wicked dives deeper into the complexities of morality, exploring how perceptions of good and evil are often shaped by personal experience and social bias. At the heart of Wicked is the character of Elphaba, the so-called Wicked Witch of the West, who in this retelling is shown to be a misunderstood, passionate, and principled individual. In contrast, The Wizard of Oz presents Elphaba as little more than an evil antagonist. By telling Elphaba's backstory, Wicked complicates the binary of good versus evil, offering a more nuanced interpretation of her character and revealing the circumstances that led her to be vilified. The two works are intrinsically linked through shared characters, settings, and events, yet they offer different interpretations of the same world. The timeline, how the stories align. To better understand the connection between Wicked and The Wizard of Oz, it's essential to consider their respective timelines. While The Wizard of Oz focuses on the span of a few weeks, beginning when Dorothy Gale lands in Oz after being caught in a tornado, Wicked spans many years, offering a much broader view of the events that unfold in Oz. In The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy arrives in the land of Oz, where she inadvertently kills the Wicked Witch of the East by landing her house on her. This sets off a chain of events that lead Dorothy on a journey to meet the wizard, during which she befriends the Scarecrow, Tin Man, and Cowardly Lion. Along the way, they confront the Wicked Witch of the West, who torments them until she is ultimately melted by Dorothy's magical water. The timeline in Wicked is more extensive and serves as a prequel to the events of The Wizard of Oz. Wicked starts after the Wicked Witch of the West's death, when Dorothy's house has landed on her, and the residents of Oz celebrate her demise. Glinda, the Good Witch, recounts the story of her complex relationship with Elphaba, the Wicked Witch, and shares details about her childhood and their time at Shiz University, where the two women were once roommates. Key characters and their journeys. In Wicked, the characters are introduced with much more depth than in The Wizard of Oz. One of the key players in Wicked is Elphaba, whose green skin marks her as different from those around her. In contrast, in The Wizard of Oz, the Wicked Witch is simply a villain with no real backstory. Elphaba's upbringing is crucial to her character development, as she is born out of a scandal involving her mother and the governor of Munchkinland. Her mother drinks a green elixir that causes Elphaba to be born with green skin, making her an outcast from birth. Elphaba's sister, Nessarose, is the Wicked Witch of the East. Nessarose, unlike Elphaba, is adored by their father and is much more traditional in her views. However, in The Wizard of Oz, she is a character who is never fully explored, her backstory largely unexplored. Wicked dives into the sisters' complicated dynamic and the reasons why Nessarose is seen as the good sister while Elphaba is labeled wicked. At Shiz University, Elphaba and Glinda start as rivals, but over time, they become close friends. Their friendship is tested by romantic entanglements, particularly with Fiyero, who becomes an important figure in both Wicked and The Wizard of Oz. Fiyero's love for Elphaba becomes central to the plot of Wicked. While in The Wizard of Oz, the Scarecrow is an enigmatic figure with no real romantic attachments. In Wicked, Elphaba becomes a strong advocate for the rights of the animals of Oz, magical creatures who are being oppressed by the government. This adds a layer of political intrigue to Wicked, with the Wizard of Oz depicted as a tyrant who is trying to control the population and suppress dissent. Elphaba's resistance to the wizard's regime is one of the driving forces in Wicked and contrasts with the relatively simple portrayal of the wizard in The Wizard of Oz, where he is seen as a figure of power and mystery. Key events and parallels. As the story progresses in Wicked, there are numerous connections to The Wizard of Oz. For example, at Shiz University, Elphaba frees a lion cub from a cage, which later becomes the Cowardly Lion in The Wizard of Oz. This action is one of the first hints that the events in Wicked will tie directly into the world of The Wizard of Oz. Another key parallel comes when Elphaba gives her sister Nessarose a pair of magical silver slippers that grant her the ability to walk. In The Wizard of Oz, the slippers are famously red, a change made for the sake of Technicolor visuals, but in Wicked, they are originally silver. When Dorothy arrives in Oz, she inherits these slippers, which eventually play a pivotal role in the conclusion of both stories. As the events in Wicked unfold, they intersect with the timeline of The Wizard of Oz. After Nessa's tragic death, a twister transports Dorothy to Oz, and she lands on the Wicked Witch of the East, causing her demise. In this moment, Wicked and The Wizard of Oz converge, with Dorothy inadvertently setting off the events that lead to the Wicked Witch of the West's death. However, in Wicked, the story doesn't end with Elphaba's death. Glinda, after discovering the truth about the wizard's deceit, realizes that Elphaba's death was staged. Elphaba, in fact, faked her own demise to escape the tyranny of Oz, and she and Fiero ride off into the sunset, free from the constraints of their world. This conclusion offers a much more complex and bittersweet ending than the one in The Wizard of Oz, where Dorothy returns home, and everything is wrapped up neatly. The moral themes. One of the most striking differences between Wicked and The Wizard of Oz is the treatment of morality. In The Wizard of Oz, the Wicked Witch of the West is purely evil, while Glinda is entirely good. This clear-cut division of good and evil serves to simplify the narrative for children, but Wicked introduces moral ambiguity, showing that Elphaba's actions are driven by principles, not malice. Her defiance of the wizard's rule is rooted in her desire to fight for justice, even if that means breaking the law. Similarly, Glinda, who starts as a naive and shallow character, matures over time and begins to understand the complexities of power and its abuses. Wicked reframes the Wicked Witch as a tragic hero, misunderstood by society, while presenting the wizard as a deceptive figure who uses manipulation and control to maintain his power. This is in stark contrast to the 1939 film, where the wizard is depicted as a well-meaning, albeit flawed, character. By presenting these characters in a more nuanced way, Wicked challenges viewers to rethink the traditional ideas of good and evil. Conclusion: is Wicked a prequel or a reimagining? Wicked can be seen as both a prequel and a reimagining of The Wizard of Oz. While it provides important backstories for characters like Elphaba, Glinda, and the wizard, it also diverges from the original story in significant ways. Wicked offers a fresh perspective on the familiar characters and events of Oz, expanding the narrative to explore the complexity of their relationships and the political tensions within the land of Oz. For fans of The Wizard of Oz, Wicked adds layers of depth to the original story, offering a richer understanding of the world of Oz. While the two works are undeniably connected, they also stand as distinct stories in their own right, each with its unique perspective on the classic tale. Whether you're a lifelong fan of the original or someone just discovering Wicked, both stories offer valuable insights into the complexities of Oz and the characters that inhabit it.